Father, Father, bless this day. Show us now the hopeful way through hate and anger.
Thank you very much and welcome to this very interesting forum after the riots, from blame to positive action.
To honor all our fellow creatures and pay respect to all our teachers.
When I first heard about this Riots Forum, when Alan invited me up here, I had to come, basically. I didn't have a choice. My mind was like, yes, I need to get my opinions out there, because it's such a massive national, you could call it problem, but we don't want problems, we want solutions.
And that's an opportunity to make conversation happen. One of my beliefs is that one of the strongest and most powerful things in the world is an idea. And I think that if we can use today as the opportunity that it is to get some conversations flowing and get some of those ideas out there, then we can have some really productive outcomes from today.
Young people don't have the respect for their society, which is why they go and ruin it, which is why they burnt down places like Reeves Corner, which was a business that was running for more than 3 generations.
And the gap between the rich and poor has grown significantly, especially under the last Labour government.
The Prime Minister said, these people, young people, think we owe them something. We do. We do owe them something. We owe to grow them up. We owe to educate them. We owe to keep them safe. Then we owe them jobs. We know who the criminals are in our community, but the system criminalises kids that don't need to be criminalised. And if we don't understand the fact that when you're having fun, you don't care. A lot of them were having fun. I've spoken to many of them from different areas, obviously predominantly in my area. Boy, class, I just went down there, you know, because, boy, my brethren's down there. I'm going to have fun. That was it. What they didn't realise, which most kids, even when I was growing up, didn't realise, that little fun was criminalising you.
You leave school at 14, you have no job, you have no money, no one believes in you. What stake have you got in society? Never mind your community, you know what I mean? And people were saying, yeah, but they're trashing their own community. But when you've got young people who are sitting there from day to day and no one's listening to them, of course you're going to get angry. And for me, I want to see if we can find some solutions of working together to see that this don't happen again.
Also, it takes a hell of a lot, and I need to really emphasise this, it takes a hell of a lot for someone while they're inside to even open their hands at them, because while you're inside and you're in prison, you wear a mask. You wear a mask to survive the bullying, to survive the violence. And then when you come out and you're released, you come up against laws like the Discrimination of Offenders Act, CRB checks. You're treated like a piece of dirt, basically.
I think we need to be rather clearer about riots than simply not being in favour of them. I think there are some other things we need to notice. Some of them have been mentioned, and they are systemic. And here we have individual acts of looting and robbery, resistance to authority, and ultimately violence against persons add up to a system of disregard. And what is a system of disregard? A system under which what you can have now is more important than a long-term consideration of the consequences. The background to the riots are that we have lived through individual acts of overindulgence at the top, and you know what I mean, expenses, crises, and so forth. The most important thing is to recognize that we live in a moral universe. And therefore, what you need to do is to recognize, whether it's convenient to you or not, what is the morality that is built into the universe and which has come to haunt us, not just last August, but every time we fail to take notice that we are intended to live in a system of regard. in a system which takes account of those people whom other people don't take account of. And that if we live by systems of disregard, the foundations of the world will be shaken. The moral, the spiritual, the physical, the economic foundations of the world will be shaken. And last August was, if nothing else, a call to live again by a system of regard for which we were made.
And today we're here to discuss not only those, but hopefully in the next hour or so, the success stories, the stories of those from various backgrounds and various fields who will share with us, albeit briefly, but will give us a glimpse and a taster of how it's possible to counter the ill effects of the times and the ages that we live in today.
Story of my life, actually. There's two young boys from the same estate, go to the same school in Wythenshawe. One of the young men does really well for himself, comes from a good background, gets on with the teachers, takes all these exams, passes all these exams, does college, does university, gets a good job, progresses up his career ladder, does quite well for himself, ends up quite a good position. He owns his own house, he drives a nice car, he likes designer clothes. The other kid didn't do too well, comes from a troubled background, didn't get on with the teachers, didn't take any exams, effectively left school at 13, fell in with the wrong crowd, in and out of young offenders institutions, starts dealing drugs, graduates to prison, deals a bit more drugs, gets bigger and bigger on the estate. From his own endeavours, he owns his own house, he drives a nice car, he likes designer clothes. On my estate, which one of them two young men gets the most respect from the other kids? Does anybody disagree? No need for you to translate that one. Now, unless we can break that, I don't even know whether to call it a cycle, but unless we can throw a credible alternative in there to make that not right and to make that not respected by the other kids, then we are beginning to struggle.
In fact, in Suffolk, we have some of the most deprived areas in the country. It's not only the cities that have deprived areas. And as we've just heard from our last speaker, that anybody can make a change. And it doesn't matter how old you are or where you are. A few years ago, we had a lot of the kids in the village. We were all skateboarding. They were on the roads. They were causing trouble on the main road with their jumps. And it was dangerous. And I took the time to think about, well, what can we do about this? And the thought came that there was a place behind the sports pavilion which could be used. And we ended up putting notices around the village. We got the donations, and within 2 weeks we had enough money to concrete the area. And with the help of the local contract farmer, we got the kids and the parents out and created an area where they could go safely. And that was just the beginning.
In America, what we've done is we've had a group of young people. We want them to understand why America's in the state it's in. So we have them understand fiscal policy, monetary policy, and we're taking them to Jamaica to analyze the economy of Jamaica and Jamaica's 2030 plan. Now, when these young people stand before the Central Bank of Jamaica, stand before Portia Simpson, and give their analysis of the economy, when they go back to their neighborhoods, I don't care if they come from an urban inner city environment. No one can tell them all you could do is be a gang member and sell drugs anymore. They stood at the central bank and talked to economists and talked to bankers, and they now see where they can go in life. And they can't be radicalized, and they can't be pulled into a gang.
Mother, Father, bless our speech, so mindfulness of what we teach will free our words from fear and violence, and not one voice here will be silenced. In friendship we communicate, our differences we celebrate.
Because I'm a product of Hackney, but I don't think I'm marginalised. I believe that you can create your own future, but you also need to have the belief and have some tools around you to be able to do so. The second bullet point is how to engage. So I've written communicate.
Young people We split our discussion into the issues and then the solutions, the changes, and the responsibilities. What we got, one of the issues we got were a breakdown in family values.
Thank you. So our group was education, inspiration, and motivation. And we start off by talking about the lessons learned from the Broadwater estate.
Kind of contrasting views about the subject matter. One of the key motivations that they had was to give the police a good hiding.
I've been around the criminal justice system for a long time, on both ends of it. So I've been on the receiving end, now I'm on the administration end of it. So I would say I can speak with a certain amount of authority. Is prison the solution? And my opinion is that whether the person stole a bottle of water or they had 10 flat screen TVs in their boot, if the stance that the criminal justice system has taken is that we're going to come down hard on them, then all of them need to go to prison. Not because the man only got caught with 500 millilitres of water, he should be treated any differently from the man who got caught with the TVs in the back of his car. The reason he probably had the water was because he didn't get to the TVs. Someone got there before him.
The anger that a lot of these youngsters that spoke to me felt targeted at police, and a lot of it came from the use of stop and search. Not the fact that they were stopped and searched, but the way in which some of them were humiliated and the way in which they were treated during the stop and search.
Mine was totally opposite, actually. I felt that in certain communities, there should be a lot more stop and search. I would rather more stop and search and less people getting shot and stabbed than less stop and search.
Yeah. I thought I'd come on my own because I didn't want that trouble. Regarding the questions that we've just got off the back of the sheet is what are the issues and the changes we would like to see and what is my responsibility? A couple of the points that we made was independent media channels where either young people or people of the public can voice their opinions or maybe get on telly and broadcast their opinions. Another one of the points that was touched on was more cooperation is needed rather than an individual effort.
Now, this is going to be the most interesting part of it, is the whole issue of follow-up and feedback. So the ethos here is that them that suggested does it. And in initiatives of change, there are no turf wars. This is something in terms of what you have decided on is what we will all have to come together and do.
Father, Mother, bless our waking. Through day to night, all fear forsaking. Through night to day with fiery eyes. Through head to heart, forsake disguise. Through heart, through hand, through heart again. And back to you the end begin.